Welcome to the Create Today podcast. I'm your host, Karen Stanley, certified Rapid Transformational Therapist and hypnotherapist. And my passion is helping women heal from the past and learn how to create the life they love one day at a time. My guest today is Karen Thomson. She is the author of the book Sugar Free: 8 Weeks to Freedom from Sugar and Carb Addictions. She has an incredibly a new video course out, and she's the mom of 2. Karen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love spending time with you. And so when you asked me, I was like, oh my gosh, what an honor. And I get to have fun as well. So I'm so happy.
It's so fun. I'm so happy that we were introduced. And, this show is all about creating the life that you love one day at a time. And it's really at its root is about, and obviously in my practice in doing therapy, is about healing and transforming. And I'd love to share your story. And let's see if we can help anyone else listen to your story. You're so inspiring to me. I'd love to know more about the details. So let's start back in South Africa. And what were you doing before you opened your own clinics?
I was modeling and drinking and doing all kinds of things that made me feel empty and alone and lost. And like I had absolutely no idea who I was or if I had passion or purpose in this lifetime. And so that's what I was doing before that happened. So maybe like taking back a couple of years, I come from a really, really famous family. My grandfather did the first heart transplant in the world. So huge, incredible human that kind of was like just this enigma of a man and this magical presence in my life. And, my mom was a world champion water skier at the age of 14. So I come from a family of incredible humans, like people who achieve great things. And so I grew up in this family where it was beautiful to witness, but it also came with the other side of being exposed to fame and massive success and being very good looking. Not me, my grandfather and the rest of my family. It was like these things that I was taught subconsciously as a kid that were important, really, I think, set the foundation for everything that transpired in my life. So I, from a young age, started thinking that the way that I look is the most important thing. That is why people are going to love me and respect me and want to be with me. And so I have nothing more really to offer than my looks. And that's the most important thing. And so even though I'm super smart and always have been, like, if that really came second to the fact that like the most important thing in life is what I look like. And in order to be successful, I have to be really, really pretty. And it's weird because it doesn't really make that much sense, you know what I mean? Because the achievements that my grandfather and my mom have are both like they put in a ton of work to get to that place, right? It wasn't because of the way that they looked that they were able to achieve the things that they did. Yet I internalized this, and I think when I was born, my grandfather wasn't operating anymore. He he developed really bad arthritis, and so he couldn't operate, and he had become like the celebrity surgeon in a way. And he was a very good looking man, and he dated people like Sophia Loren and Gina Brigida, and my mom lived with Dean Martin, and you know what I mean? Like I'm like this glamorous, magical, like this is like what I hear about as I'm growing up. My mom started me modeling at the age of 5 or 4. I don't even remember. And I just remember being painfully shy, being so insanely shy and just never ever feeling good enough. Like there's this part of me that never feels good enough for anything. It never feels good enough for a job, a relationship, success, nothing. I've got this like core belief that who I am is not good enough. And so nothing good will essentially ever happen because I'm like flawed beyond belief. Anyway, so I started modeling and just always with these like this looking for this external solution to this internal problem of just feeling empty and like I didn't have a purpose or a passion or or like a way of knowing myself. Started drinking when I was about 14, started doing other stuff when I was about 16. got heavily into the modeling industry at that time, developed eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, compulsive overeating, kind of vacillating between it. Did a lot of like diet pills to take away my appetite so I could really drop weight. And it was in the 90s. So it was like really like when that heroin chic vibe was in. And so the thinner you were, the better. It was not voluptuous. It was not curvy. It was not good. And I remember, you know, doing whatever I could to not eat, to punish my body, to make it as thin as possible. And if I look back at those times now, if I had done to somebody else what I did to myself, I would have been locked up. I would have been put in jail. The way that I treated myself was just so awful. The abuse, the emotional abuse, the psychological abuse, the way that I spoke to myself, you know, the physical abuse with like the food, the restriction, and then the purging and the binging. And it was just like, it was crazy, the cycle that I got into. And so I, you know, I continued on that, looking always like getting into this industry where it's all about external validation. And so, you know, getting into an industry that's all about rejection as well. So constantly enforcing this belief that I have that I'm not good enough by every place that I go. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You're not thin enough. Your boobs are too big. They're too small. You know, I was just like constantly being bombarded with these messages. And I kind of just was a directionless little human. Like I just had no idea what I wanted to do or who I was. And then one morning, I mean, I was 24 years old and I woke up and it was like a heavy night the night before. And I remember stumbling to the bathroom and like drinking water from the tap. I was so dehydrated. And as I looked up at myself in the mirror, I was shocked because I had no idea who this person was staring back at me. My eyes were dead. It was like I was looking at a ghost. And it was like in this moment that my life flashed before my eyes, and I was confronted with this reality that every dream, every goal, everything that I'd ever wanted to achieve was lost. Like I was not going to achieve it, and that I had essentially thrown my life away to oblivion, to looking for these dopamine hits, for this external solution to this like empty being that I was inside. And I remember standing in the mirror and I was like, I don't know if I can go on. I don't know if today I'm going to take my own life. Like I seriously considered that today was the day that I was just going to take a whole lot of Valium and just go to sleep and hopefully never wake up, because I had nothing and no one in my life. My parents were still around because they kind of had to be, but I think they were even getting to the point where they were kind of fed up with me. I had kind of ostracized all the friends that I had who no longer wanted to be in my life. And I was just like, I have nothing to show for myself. And so I thought a way out was just to kind of end it all. But there was another part of me that was like the feisty part, the part that was like, you have so much that you have to do on this earth. And you make a promise to yourself today to live a life of passion and purpose and belonging. And we will make sure that that happens no matter how hard it is. And so in that moment, I made a promise to myself to live a life of passion and purpose. And that's the day I essentially booked into rehab. And you know, that's the day where I was faced with the emptiness of who I was and was able to start rebuilding my life.
Wow. How long were you in rehab?
I was in rehab for 9 months, so long, because I had no idea who I was or what I wanted to do, or, you know, I was just such a lost soul. I remember I thought I was just going to go in for 3 weeks and I would come out and like moderate my drinking and everything would be fine. And I think it was when I was there that they were just like, she can't be by herself. She has no idea what life is about, like none. Like she has no coping skills. She has no coping mechanisms. She's so lost. Like she's so lost.
Did you learn coping mechanisms and rehab?
Oh yeah, totally. So the first 3 weeks was awful. I was in this like primary care facility, and it was like, I don't know if you've seen that maybe with Sandra Bullock, where it's like all feelings groups, and you know, it's like some fun but really not. And you know, I realized that it wasn't necessarily that I was addicted to alcohol or drugs or food. It was that I had this like emptiness inside of me that I was trying to fill with external substances. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow, because it meant that I really had to acknowledge that there was very little substance to me. And but it also gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, well, here's an opportunity. I'm like a blank slate. So what is it that I want to be? How is it that I want to show up in the world? Like, what are my morals and my values? And, you know, integrity is really important to me. And so what behavior do I need to put in place in order to become this person that I wanted to be. You know, I had such low self-esteem and like no self-worth, and it's still something I struggle with, honestly. But it's definitely getting better. And in that process, like when I was in, like from 3 weeks onwards, I was in this extended primary care, and I had this counselor called Nacho, and I was his first client. And thank God I was his first client, because I don't know if I had been like number 20 or 40 or whatever clients, he would have had the capacity to take me on. Because you know, that man at that point, that man at that point of time had this infinite capacity to love, and to really look at me and see me as this beautiful human being. And I remember him saying to me, I'm going to believe in you until you can believe in yourself. And no one had ever said that to me. No one had ever taken the time to say to me, I believe in you. Like, I see you, I believe in you, and I will be here for you no matter what. And he did. And that moment in time changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. I was like, I will do whatever he says to get my life back on track. And I did. And it was stuff like, you know, work the 12 steps, like be completely honest about yourself, like write down everything you've ever done in yourself, like behaviorally. Look, take stock, take inventory, take responsibility, get on your knees every day, 3 times a day, and pray. And I remember praying and being like, oh my God, my prayers are going nowhere. I don't believe in anything. But suddenly things started shifting and changing, and like this hope and this courage and this freedom started coming into my life. And little by little, I was able to start learning how to live.
It's so beautiful. Sometimes all we need is one person to say that I see you and I believe in you. And also sometimes people never get that one person. They
Yeah.
don't actually have that one person. And so, you know, we hearing this, we can make sure, ensure that wherever we go, the people that we love, that we can be that person, just in case
Yeah.
somebody doesn't have a person, you know, believing that. What a huge shift you can make and
Yeah,
really want to try.
absolutely.
It's incredible. So, how did you come about to open your own centers?
So when I was in my tertiary care, like the last phase of rehab, I was almost 9 months clean. After that, I met my husband, and he already had owned a rehab, and so
Hmm.
together we built South Africa's largest continuum of care. So we had detox facility, primary care, secondary care, tertiary care, and then sober living houses. And so we built that together. Yeah, after I was probably more like about 18 months clean at that point, and
Mm.
we opened the next big one, and like we had no money or anything, and we found this phenomenal property in this beautiful town in Cape Town, and a suburb in Cape Town. And he was just like, this would be a dream. But I was like, it's millions. It's like, how are we going to do this? And he was like, you know, I believe that if it's meant to be, it will happen. And if we put in the work, like it will happen. And so he was like, I just need somebody to sign, like to put in the money. And I was like, maybe my uncle will. Weirdly, I don't even know why. And I approached my uncle, and he put up the money for this incredible property, and we ran a phenomenal, yeah, facility from there.
Mm. And so special using your journey to help others do the same.
Yeah.
And then was really interesting to me what led you to then kind of focus on being sugar free. You were watching your clients and patients, helping them get sober. And then tell my listeners what you found.
I found that like when they came in, and this is something that happened to me as well, is like they would switch their addiction. So they would put down the alcohol and the drugs, and they would immediately turn to something else that would change the way that they feel, that would, you know. And I think like a lot of the science that's out there, you know, it's like the PET scans, the stuff that they do shows that sugar lights up your brain in a similar way to heroin and cocaine, right? There is that dopamine response, there is that neurological response, like it works on the same pathways. And so even though it's not an illegal substance, you're still using it as a crutch to deal with life and to change the way that you feel. And I think that's one of the biggest things about addiction. It's this compulsive pursuit of a behavior or substance or a person despite the negative consequences. And so, a lot of our clients were already unhealthy and becoming even more unhealthy after they, started eating sugar. And it's the same way diabetics can't stop eating sugar despite it killing them. It's like that to me is an addiction. I'm not saying every diabetic, but so I saw the clients doing this and I was like, there has to be something that we have to do. Like, can we treat sugar as a drug? And is abstinence possible? Like, do we have to practice abstinence? And at the same time, there was a very famous sports scientist in South Africa called Professor Tim Noakes, and he was starting to talk about the low carb, high fat way of life. And he got a lot of backlash from the medical community in South Africa who said it was dangerous and irresponsible for him to be promoting that. And I watched one of his programs and he spoke about sugar and addiction in the same sentence. And I was like, fuck, it's like sugar is an addiction. It works on the same neurological pathways, the behaviors there. It may not lead to you like lying in the gutter with a needle in your arm, but it's like the premise of addiction is there. The cycle of addiction, the binging, the withdrawal, the guilt, the shame, the fear, like all of that stuff is there. It's the same cycle. And so him and I opened one of the world's first inpatient sugar and carb addiction programs together, and it was called Help, the Healthy Eating and Lifestyle Program. And from there we did outpatient and then outpatient and online programs. And I got asked to write a book called Sugar Free. And like during that time, he got a lot more backlash, and the medical board wanted to revoke his medical license, and he had to have this big court case. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to help this man? Like, I feel responsible for him getting into trouble because of the sugar addiction component of it, and the medical community having like going after him because of that, and insurance companies and stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, let me host a conference where I bring all the leaders in the world together in Cape Town, and we will have the science to support this, and we'll make sure that everybody knows the truth. And at the same time, I was able to, through that, make my book a bestseller in South Africa, and give Prof. Noakes the support that he needed. And from there, I was asked to write this book for the UK and did that and became a bestseller there. And so now it's available on Amazon, and I actually just submitted a new manuscript, an updated version of this book to my publisher. That's going to come out January 2025.
That's so great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Wow. How was it and why did you end up coming to the US?
So South Africa is really dangerous. I had two little boys and we wanted to get them out of the country to give them a better chance at life. And we had got an offer for the rehabs that we couldn't refuse. It was amazing. And I had started doing talks like on sugar addiction. And so I got an alien with extraordinary ability visa. So an O1 visa. It's called the alien with extraordinary ability. And I was like, I can own that. That sounds like a great,
Cool.
if somebody's always felt like a bit of an alien in like the human population, like this is wonderful. So came here wanting to set up the sugar addiction clinics, actually like had partners that were going to us. And then when I got here, I had spoken at a conference in San Diego, and there was a guy in the audience, and he came up to me afterwards and he was like, hey, I loved your talk. And I was like, oh, thank you. What's your name? And, what do you do? And he was like, my name's Greg. And I started CrossFit. And I was like, oh, okay. And so it was Greg Glassman, who was the founder of CrossFit. And we became friends. And then when we moved to the United States, he called me up and he was like, hey, I want to set up a new division of CrossFit called CrossFit Health. And I would love for you to help me do that. And I was like, I'm in, let's do it.
So cool.
Yeah.
What ended up happening with that?
So we worked together for about 6 years. It was phenomenal. Like CrossFit has always been very, cognizant of the fact that sugar is one of the leading causes of chronic disease, right? And it's not like just table sugar, because those bro scientists out there who've never experienced overeating in their entire life who will come at us hard for saying this, but it's like this combination of not working out, like eating the wrong foods, eating the wrong food combinations, like it's wreaking havoc with our health. And so CrossFit has always had a nutrition prescription that fits the no sugar message, and they have an exercise philosophy that's very effective and works very beautifully, and they have the sense of community and camaraderie that's very rare. And I was like, we can reach a lot more people through this community than I can by myself. And so we set up CrossFit Health, which really was looking at networking starting with, so the tagline for CrossFit was, let's start with the truth. So we looked at all the science and how it wasn't able to be replicated, the problem with p-values, like how a lot of science is like, there's so much scientific misconduct out there. A lot of the research is like so flawed, and like exposing that, especially in nutrition science. So we did that. We got a whole lot of these experts to speak, and we organized these events, and then we did training courses just for medical doctors, because they could see how CrossFit changed their patients' lives and their own lives. And so we just started building this community. And so that was until about a year ago, when the company had been sold to private equity, and they decided that the CrossFit Health message, as it was, or as I was kind of bringing it forward, was no longer where they wanted to go. And so they eliminated my role. And that's when I, just started doing my own thing again.
Wow. What are the key components to truly filling up that empty vessel when you are in the midst and throes of addiction? You really feel like, which is the symptom of a larger, underlying core belief and core system. It can be one symptom, and some people, we can have multiple symptoms of it. But developing that core belief, that's what that's what I talk about 24/7, and how we can use hypnosis to get to the root cause and reframe and retrain our brain from what you said it yourself. For whatever reason, I developed the belief that my outward appearance is the most important thing, and achieving, and fame is amazing. And then I also have to be the skinniest ever. It's like, and I can relate to all of that except for the fame part. And you just have to, we are, as children, downloading everything we see around us and trying to make meaning of it and make sense of it and define it for ourselves. And what does that mean? And then sometimes it gets stuck, as a permanent, fixture in your hard drive. The best part about it is that you can transform that. You can understand it and let it go and then transform it. But I'd love to hear your perspective of what was the first key. You said somebody believed in you, and they're going to believe in you until you believe in you. What was the number 2 key to actually putting in? What did you put into place, and what were the steps to getting to, I do believe in myself?
I honestly, it's the 12-step program. Like, I had to work the 12 steps. I had to start really understanding that the only thing I have control over are my own thoughts, which create my feelings, and therefore my behavior. That's the only thing I have control over. I don't have control over anything else. I had to believe that there was something greater than me, that I was an ultimate authority, or had the ultimate power, that there's something way bigger than me out there who really is in charge and at play. And even though I have free will, there's still something bigger than me that really is supportive of me and the best outcomes in life, and that I'm the one getting in my own way. So I had to do that. And the way that I did that was through working the 12 steps, by admitting I was powerless over these external substances or people or situations, and coming to believe that something greater than me could kind of like get my life back on track, and then handing my will and my life over every day to this power that was greater than me, or is greater than me, still is. And then really starting to take inventory, like looking at my behavior, like how can I be a better human being? Like, what do I need to do for myself every single day? And it's generally the harder thing to do. It's not easy,
Not.
and then incorporating practices of prayer and meditation and journaling, and going to meetings and doing step work with my sponsor, and getting with the community and service. Like, what can I do to help other people? Because the disease of addiction is a very self-centered disease. It's like rooted in the self-centered fear of losing what we have or not getting what we want. And so there's no living in the present moment. It's always about like future tripping or like past regret. And so how do I center myself in the moment right now? And that can really only be achieved through service, through seeing how I can be of service to other people who are in need. And yeah, I mean, it's a difficult process, there's really no quick fix. I still struggle with my self-esteem. I still struggle with my self-worth. the last week has been one of like just sitting in pure fear constantly, and it's been debilitating and exhausting. And but I know that I have to sit in it, and that, as hard as it is, like, this too shall pass. But I can't say that it's easy, and I can't say that I'm out of it, and I'm still in it, and it's still scary. But I know that I don't have to drink in order to take away that pain. And I know that I don't need to be destructive and destroy my life or my kid's life. Um, luckily I didn't drink, like, I was clean before I had kids. But it's just, I feel very lucky that I got to that point before I had children.
It's beautiful. And so what next? You have your new book coming out in January.
I do.
And did you change the title? Or do you have a new title or
Oh,
no?
no, I think listen, I mean, my publisher owns me and the book
Yeah.
very much. It's like very, like, up to them, and I like let go of that, honestly. Like, I'm
Whatever.
a control freak in many ways, but not in that way. I'm just grateful to have a publisher, because I think it's really hard to get a decent publisher these days, and this is a really good publisher. And so I'm very grateful, like, for my editor who's doing this with me, and his belief in me. And I was like, listen, here's the deal, Tom. Like, if you guys are not going to use the American rights, just give it to me. Let me self-publish. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is going on? Like, it can't be that hard. And he's like, Karen, the book did really well. And so let me meet with the editorial team and see what we can do. And then he came back, he's like, yeah, I want to republish. I was like, great. Saves me the time and energy of like doing all the other stuff. So
Seriously.
yeah, so I've got that going on. And then I've started working with Emily Kaplan and Greg Glassman again to help them with certain projects. So kind of CrossFit health, not like, it's not what it was, but it's like based on the same principles of let's start with the truth and creating community and networking and doing that stuff. So I'm doing that. And then just trying to find my feet, honestly, in, do I still want to do sugar-free programs? Do I want to focus on sobriety? Like, where is it that I want to go next? And just trying to be open to the uncertainty that I'm currently sitting in.
Yeah.
And that to me is a really difficult place to be.
Yeah. Because you have so much experience and wisdom in so many different areas. It can look like a frightening thing, but it also, you can reframe it as, wow, I really can create whatever future I want. And just kind of trying to figure it out. Which area are you the most passionate about, and pursue that. I'm excited. And it's amazing what you have already done so far. And we're all going to be excited to see what's next. But you also have a new a course. It's an online video course, right?
It's a 21-day sugar-free challenge. So like just quit sugar for 21 days and see what happens. And it's like daily videos and like little worksheets. So you can look at like your relationship with sugar and what it really means, like very much based on the addiction stuff. So it's not just nutrition based, but like challenging your own thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors and your beliefs about like yourself and the world and how you show up. And so it's called the 21-day sugar-free revolution challenge, and it's available on my website, sugarfreerevolution.com.
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
think, what do you think about, as I'm learning and growing older in experience, wiser, hopefully, as the years go by, I am drawn to how important the acknowledgement piece is, really just being aware. How important do you think that is? You just said you are talking about just journaling and and identifying the feelings and the thoughts that you're having around everything. How important do you think that is?
I don't think anything can happen unless we have awareness about a situation. Like, that's the first step for sure. Like, nothing can change unless we are conscious that it exists.
And aware of the framing that we are doing and our feelings and our thoughts about certain things. It's
Yeah.
so incredible that you start that. If you start there, that's where all transformation starts, is just being aware of what you're already doing. Like, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And people are disconnected. They're surprised, when I started being aware of my feelings and thoughts, and wow, I was like, crazy. Because if
Yeah.
you can be disconnected, you can stay busy and just be a human doing.
Yeah.
And it you can disconnect from that, your whole life. If you want to do, you could do your whole career that way. But it's so powerful to sit and really ask yourself that, what are my habits? What are my habits of thought and feelings? And then what do I want them to be?
Yeah. And then being
Transformation.
change
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that is very, very powerful. And it's hard to do alone, you know. I think like your hypnosis, and I've had the privilege of doing a session with you, you know, and then you send the hypnosis recording afterwards, and I listen to it in the morning and the evening. It definitely shifts and changes so much. Like it's really hard to do this alone. Like it's incredibly difficult to do. Nothing that I've done that has been of any great value, I've done alone.
That's a really good point. And even if it's not RTT or hypnotherapy per se, we all need people. We need help. We can't do this alone. And so
Yeah.
find your person, find anything that you can. If somebody's really struggling, who's listening, that's really a good point. Excellent advice. So Karen, this is the tale of two Karens. Where can everybody find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Sugar Free Revolution. My website is sugarfreerevolution.com. YouTube, I think as my name is actually pronounced Karen because it's like South African
Oh, sorry.
No. I mean, it's like, it's spelled exactly the same. So
It is.
Karen Thomson on YouTube, and then Karen Thomson Sugar Free, I think, on Facebook. But yeah, just Google or go to sugarfreerevolution.com or Instagram at Sugar Free Revolution. I'm probably the most active there.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your journey and your story and your wisdom. I really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for being here and listening to my show. If you got any value at all, it would mean the world if you shared it and left a review. Remember, the only way to create the life you love is to take it one day at a time. Create today. God bless you.